Hello, I'm Peter Cotton. I'm going to read you from my book called When Fred the Snake Got Squished and Mended. It does have a happy ending. And here's the book, published some years ago, beautifully illustrated by Bonnie Lemaire. Does a wonderful job. I actually wrote the story many years ago when my children were young. And when they had their own children, they said, "What happened to Fred Fred?" They called him Fred Fred for reasons that will become obvious in just a few minutes. So we found the illustrator, Bonnie, and a publisher, and published this book. We have actually 4 other Fred books that you might be interested in. Anyway, this one, When Fred the Snake Got Squished and Mended. One day as we sat down for tea, a package came, addressed to me, the sort with holes in it, which leave air inside for pets to breathe. There lying on a leafy bed was my gift, a snake called Fred. A note said, "Love from Jungle Jim. Be sure and take good care of him." Fred was his name, but soon instead we'll have to call him Fred-Fred. For I'll tell you how we made ends meet when he lost his head when crossing the street. So here we are, when the postman came, with a box with holes in it, boys looking rather excited, Mum and Dad a little worried maybe. So, Fred came from a steamy forest spot where even winter days are hot, the home of hairy beasts that go oink oink, and drop things on your head, boink boink. It's a swampy place with lots of squelch, the only noise a muffled belch of a nearby rhino in the mud chewing the primeval cud. So here's the jungle. There's a monkey throwing a coconut, a rather nervous looking rhino, beautiful butterflies, and there's a little Fred at the bottom. So, such a rush when we first went out with noise and cars all dashing about. Fred was jungle trained a treat, but could he cross a busy street? When we came to cross the road, Fred quite forgot his forest code. He thought the barber's stripey pole was a friendly snake. But oh my soul, Fred dashed across with never a glance into the path of an ambulance. There he is, rushing across to that barber's pole. Scary, what's going to happen? I'm a bit worried, are you? A little nervous? Yes. Whoa, with a horrible screech. It wasn't his fault. The driver did his best to halt, and like most snakes, Fred had no brakes. Before my eyes, poor hurrying Fred was cut in 2. He scarcely bled, for in snakes' blood or something flows for stop them leaking when they're squoze. And here we are. There he is, cut in 2. Ooh. Driver's looking very upset. Fred's eyes rolling. Oof. What's going to happen? We've got to help. The driver jumped down. From his pack he took his first aid kit and his first aid book, and the index found for snakes divided, use the longest splint provided. But even that was much too small. The 2 Fred parts were far too tall. We had to call for further aid. Pretty soon the fire brigade had Fred all comfy on their ladder. They'd once been called to a fractured head. With police cars leading them ahead, they dashed through all the lights at red and halted at the hospital gate. Oh, will they have to operate? There we are, all up nicely on the ladder. So we're in the hospital. Doctors came and called a vet not a case they often get. They sounded his chest and made him sick by poking his throat with a long flat stick. I wonder why they do that. They put him on trolleys, he needed 4, and wheeled him through the x-ray door. I saw the specialist doctor frown as he put Fred's x-rays down. We'll have to do our best to sew these ends together. But you know, to the nurses gathered round he said, I'll need a special sort of thread, full of twist and curl and bend, to make a proper snake-proof mend. So here we are on 2 trolleys. The boy's looking very nervous. Doctor's waiting for the thread. Where's the thread come from? That's a good question. The thread comes only from the leaf of a certain bush that grows beneath large rhinos. But who will dare disturb that wild beast in his lair? Volunteers, please give your names. Any volunteers? Suddenly I thought of James. Incidentally, James is the proper way of saying Jim. Jim's short for James, so it's the same as Jim. Suddenly I thought of James, who enjoys, so one supposes, hunting fierce rhinoceroses. So he wrote post-haste to Jim in catapults, informing him of the needs of Fred, or rather Fred's, for the parts now lay in separate beds. There's the boy writing to Jim. Dear James, it says. Well, what's Jim going to do? Jim read the note, but his mortal dread was waking rhinos in their bed. Can't blame him. But he bravely started out to hike. He'd punctured his exploring bike and laid his bait, an open box of rhino's favourite sort of chocks. Woken from his dreamy coma by a birthday sort of aroma, the rhino staggered to his feet and shambled off towards his treat. Here's the rhino going for chockies, looking a little bit excited. Not sure about an excited rhino. From his hiding place, neck deep in slime, Jim, picking the auspicious time, stretched out his hand and with it caught the leaf our Fred's doctor sought. With loving care he packed it in his jungle issue sandwich tin and sealed it with a forest stamp. A monkey swung it back to camp and sent it seagull post that day across the seas where Fred lay. Here we are, here's seagull post going all the way across to where Jim is in the hospital. Okay, so is the doctor going to use it? Yes. The doctor then immediately, or rather when he'd had his tea, prepared the thread and started sewing Fred's coming to his going. The brave snake didn't cry or ouch on the operating couch. Then doctor asked the nurse to bring the special snaky sort of sling which helps in bendy types of healing. Soon Fred was strung up from the ceiling. And we've got a picture of that. One of Bonnie's beautiful pictures. There he is, all strung up from the ceiling. The boy's looking excited because he can see Fred's looking better. And did he mend? Yes, he did. Within a week, with stitches out, Fred found that he could twist about. He did his exercises so they soon pronounced him fit to go. Fred kept a careful hold of me as we hurried home for tea of jelly, cream, and beans on toast. The things that Mended Fred's like most. Here's Mama waiting with his tea. Okay, so Then we wrote Brave Jim a letter saying Fred was so much better and thanked him for the jungle trip to provide our snake with a sort of zip. Then Fred washed, put on his jammers, just the leg parts, not the armors, and curled up, having said his prayers, in his box beneath the stairs. As he fell asleep, I heard Fred say, "It's been a very trying day. Tomorrow, when I'm on the road, I won't forget my crossing code, and nor will you. That's my advice, lest you spell your name like Fred twice." There's Fred in his box beneath the stairs, and the boys looking after him. So I hope you've enjoyed my story. As I mentioned, we now have 4 other Fred Snake books. They're available on my website at www.petercottontails.com, where you can also learn that I was not named after a rabbit, because when I grew up in England, there wasn't such a thing as Peter Cottontail. There was Peter Rabbit and Flopsy and Mopsy, but Cottontail and Benjamin Bunny, but not Peter Cottontail. It wasn't until I moved to the United States that people started laughing when they heard my name. I don't mind people laughing. Have fun. Thank you.